You're in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant, national financial columnist and money color commentator. This week on The Biz, the monthly update series for March 2013. And on today's show, the Financial Industry Update with our special guest, Ken Davis, CLU, ChFC, CFP, and CPA.
When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm your host, Steve Savant, and we're broadcasting to a nationwide audience of financial advisors right here in Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And today with me to discuss all the new updates on tax, estate tax, and all that, your CPA, your certified financial planner, Ken Davis.
Stephen, good to see you.
I didn't want to go through the other four, so I just wanted to. Well, Ken, you've been on our show a lot, and of course you have a cult following out there. They love you. And remember, we have many consumers watching our show. So today, if you say, Steve, I love the information that you guys are going to push out, and we have a ton today, you can order it at steve@thebiz.tv, and we'll send it to you, consumer or otherwise. So, Ken, let's get into it because, all right, fiscal cliff over, right? Well, maybe stalled, right? But at least for today, let's talk about the income tax issues. And just a heads up, I'm going to have Ken on about another month or so because we're going to do our tax show for that whole week as well. But let's just do a kind of a redux.
Let me jump in real quick because you talked about the summary. We have a summary that's going to be made available to any viewer, consumer or professional that wants to talk to us. And that's what we're reading off today. And the tax code, normally the only way that you can really make sense of it is if you have tax planning software and you say, what if I put this number in, I put that number in, what's the bottom line, and if I put it in this way or put it in plan B, what's the difference? That's really the only way to get the bottom line. However, if you want to know if you're trying to do certain things like an IRA contribution or qualified plan or estate planning or whatever, this summary sheet in 2 pages, front and back, gives you a very quick overview of all the detailed rules for different kinds of deductions, exemptions, credits, exclusions, whether Social Security is included in taxation or not. It's really a nice reference tool. It's great. CPAs love it. However, I think our consumers have a quick guide instead of paging through all of the
tax
instructions.
Facts. I mean, who's going to read tax facts?
Or the instructions. They look at instructions. They're not looking at other types of media. So.
Well, I'm looking at the difference, and I like what this does because the digest actually compares 2012 to 2013.
Right.
And so you kind of get a side-by-side look, a yin and a yang, so to speak. Ken, what stands out to you? Let's do the income tax first. Okay. And let's just walk through this. What stands out between what happened in 2012 and what we have to think about in 2013?
Well, a couple things. We've always had a graduated income tax rate, okay, or at least as far as I can remember. Now we have this kind of special thing with capital gains. Capital gains, whenever said, well, what's capital gain rate? Well, it's 15%. Well, we knew that for some people making lower income is actually 10%, but now we have 20% for the really wealthy, or the quote-unquote wealthy, and those are people that now drop into the maximum income tax bracket of 39.6, and last year it was 35% maximum. So we now have people with $400,000 or more of taxable income paying 39.6, and they're subject to a 20% capital gains rate, and we're going to be talking later about another tax on top of that.
Well, I'm thinking that for the affluent, and I guess they're saying now that's the new demarcation line, I guess. It could have been 250, so I'm going to count my blessing,
in some cases it is 250, in some cases it's 400, or 450 for married couples.
Well, I'm looking at some of the numbers here, and when I think about the extra, well, I don't want to call it a surtax, I guess but it is. It's more.
Well, they call it a surtax.
They call it a surtax, but I just call it, hey, this is a total robbery on their part. But okay, fair enough. I've gotten over it. I'm trying to get over it. Let's talk about when we're looking at this from a client point of view, and I don't mean to just, grease the skids of the area of my sponsor and people that sponsor us, which are predominantly insurance carriers and other insurance-related companies.
Right.
But tax advantage products at the higher end, we are going to start looking great. I mean, it's going to go center stage with bills like this, tax bills like this. That's huge.
Well, it's interesting when you watch the activities of Congress, they tend to throw a bone out to different constituencies because they want us all to vote. Well, they give stuff to the poor people and to the middle class and all this stuff. And corporations and businesses, they have little goodies too. And think about it. Banks have FDIC guaranteed insurance, okay, guaranteed by the government. That's a government-backed kind of program. Then stocks and real estate and other types of things get what? Capital gain treatment, right? Well, then annuities and life insurance get tax deferral. And through the use of annuities and life insurance products, if they're designed properly, and that's important, the design is critical, you can utilize the tax benefits related to those assets. And the big thing is tax deferral. Well, if you've got interest-bearing types of CDs, bonds, whatever, you're going to be taxable on it and subject to all this. You can, through certain strategies of using annuities, reduce the adjusted gross income and decrease your taxation considerably. So you're right, our products are going to be favored with all these new rules.
I'd say, like I said, we were getting calls that I normally would not have received right after this one went down. Not only consumers, but producers saying, okay, I've been on the security side a long time. I've watched a couple of your shows. I want to come over here because I can see the value of this now. The tax bracket at the top end is getting so big for our affluent clients that this now becomes another avenue, another sanctuary, actually.
Well, and the other thing that's happened in the past is that it was difficult to compete with not only capital gains rates, but also the potential higher returns on real estate and stocks and stuff like that. What's happening is people are saying, gee, I got burned in that area. I don't trust it anymore. I want something a little safer. And our products with indexing strategies may be a better alternative for some people.
I think not only the index from the safety point of view, but these tax advantages of having deferral, and some people even use a suppressed death benefit on a life insurance platform using indexing, that could be tax-free if it's kept in force and it's done compliant to TAMRA code. Could be huge, really, think about it. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue our monthly financial industry update for March 2013 with Ken Davis. And don't forget to enroll in IULUniversity.com for the best training, education, and sales support when it comes to life insurance for retirement income.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Did you know the average 401k runs out of money just 7 to 8 years into retirement? Time Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, and many other publications have warned of the difficulty of saving with a 401k. But what if there was a way to create tax-free lifetime retirement income with no stock market risk? Good news, there is.
You know, living in fear of the next market dive is not the way I want to live my life.
Why would I go out there and take on risk when I don't need to?
I have a lot less stress knowing I can't lose any more of my retirement savings in the stock market.
Call now to receive your free, no-obligation analysis of what this retirement vehicle could do for you, a comparison to your current retirement plan, and a free video that explains this exciting opportunity. Start planning a retirement you can enjoy instead of worrying about future tax increases and stock market losses. Creating income that will last your entire life is the most important thing you'll ever do. Take control of your future. Call now for your free analysis, comparison, and video.
Welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm Steve Savant with Ken Davis. And don't forget, you can request today's material by emailing me at steve@thebiz.tv. And just a heads up, before moving forward with any of the ideas you hear in our show, always consult your tax advisor or your legal counsel. And if you're FINRA licensed, always check in with your broker-dealer compliance officer. And we're talking about giveaways. If you go out to our site again at thebiz.tv, we're giving this away. So just say, Steve, I want the summary sheet. It's great. That's what we're pulling off of. Ken, let's talk about it. We just talked about the normal taxes, but now we have a whole new chart. I'm amazed. We're talking about modified AGI, and just a little camera shot. This is excellent because this really brings you to a whole nother level of understanding of taxes, because it's AGI, then it's Magni, right? I mean, there are a lot of cool things going on here, and this chart is great. Talk to me about modified AGI, MAGI. Or do you say Magi?
Well, Magi,
Okay.
or I put a C on the end, magic, and call it modified adjusted gross income confiscation. So I add the C to it. But anyway.
Okay, here we go.
Sorry. This is important. Adjusted gross income for people that aren't professionally in tax preparation. At the bottom of page 1 of the 1040 is the last line, says adjusted gross income. And adjusted gross income is an important number because deductions, exemptions, credits, inclusion of Social Security and taxation, Medicare premiums, all are based on some form of adjusted gross income. The M that's put in front of adjusted gross income for modified adjusted gross income takes AGI and actually adds some more income to it from other areas. For instance, we're going to be talking about Social Security. You add back half your Social Security and municipal bond interest, believe it or not, which is supposed to be tax-free, goes into the MAGI formula for that particular inclusion of taxation. So AGI, the law is very difficult to get your arms around because there's all these little tiny rules all over the place that will say, yes, you can deduct that, or no, you can't deduct it, or yes, you have to include that, or no, you don't. And it's all based on AGI.
Well, I tell you what, if you're a consumer today and you're just hearing this for the first time, that many of your municipal bond income might be being hit by the modified AGI. That's probably a new revelation. Ken, let's go back. You touched on Social Security. I mean, at least nothing changed there, right? I mean, but just give a quick review before we go on to the next block.
Well, what's interesting about Social Security is they have what they call thresholds. In other words, if you make a certain level of modified adjusted gross income, then you will have to start to include your Social Security.
Earned income or any income?
Any income.
Any income.
Look at the front page of your tax return. If you want to know what goes in that number, just get a copy on irs.gov, pull it down, look at it line by line. You'll see what is added and what's subtracted. And it gives you kind of a visual aid to see how that all flows. And then once you get to AGI, you look at it and said a married filing jointly has $32,000 of AGI, has to start including 50% in taxable income of their Social Security. And when they hit 44,000, it's 85% is included in taxation. Think about that. Social Security, let's say that husband and wife were both really productive and both getting $2,000 a month from Social Security. That's $4,000 a month, or 48 grand a year. They have to include $24,000 in this modified adjusted gross income to determine if the Social Security is taxed. Well, married filing jointly is $32,000. All you need is an $8,000 of additional income before you start to get thrown into this this mix. And 44 is 85% of it is taxable. This was originally sold to the American public back in the early 80s. It was actually in Reagan's administration with a Democratic Congress and a Republican president. So you can essentially say it's bipartisan. They put this into place. They did not inflation adjust it. And that's the key I want to get across. It wasn't inflation adjusted. So it was originally intended for the affluent of the time. And these were very high numbers back 30 years or so ago. Now they're very middle class. And almost everybody is being included in this process. And I think they did it by design. They didn't inflation adjust it. Now it just slowly but surely creeped in, and now it's part of everyday life.
Unbelievable. Remember, back in the day, they told us way at the inception of Social Security, this wasn't even going to be taxed at all.
Right.
Let's go into estate planning, because I kind of like that. You know, let's just touch on some of the things. Now, actually, nothing really changed. They made an adjustment on the inflation number, but there's some new issues on annual gift tax that goes with this. Talk about that.
Well, we were used to, for a lot of years, having it at the exclusion for estates at $600,000 or $1 million. And back then, both the exclusion was good for the estate tax, and that's when you pass away, and also while you're alive and gifting to somebody, you had that same $1 million. Well, then we ratcheted it up to as much as $3.5 million, but they left the $1 million gift tax exclusion the same. So you had a separation. And it used to be a unified system, and they separated it. And now we're back to a unified system. The $5 million exclusion per person, lifetime exclusion for estate taxes, was $5 million. It's being inflation adjusted. Remember, I was talking about that earlier. It's now $5,250,000. The gift tax exclusion, which instead of a one-time lifetime exclusion is an annual exclusion, lose it or use it, you don't accumulate it, has gone from 13 to 14. So the good news is you get up to $5,250,000 per person to gift or when you pass away, and the annual exclusion is $14,000.
That's huge.
It's big.
What I don't understand is we're doing an adjustment for inflation on estates that are $5.2 million, but we won't do anything with Social Security where everybody else lives. See, to me, I don't understand the fairness of that, and I am a conservative, and I don't even get that. Well, that's our show for today. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or email me at steve@thebiz.tv. Well, that's the Buzz on the Biz for today. You've been in the zone, the business insurance zone.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.